The interesting thing for them, and it's is particularly for Venezuelan community, is interesting because the Trump administration is really targeting them for the deportation operation. They're already announcing they want to terminate TPS. So in the midst of that, it's kind of been a kind of this weird time for South Florida because like they're very super conservative out there, very people could say based online is how they would describe them. You know, you got folks that escaped like communism from Cuba and Venezuela. So they have a unique perspective. But everyone that we spoke to in Venezuela, I mean, in South Florida, who are Venezuelans were like ecstatic. I mean, some people even started almost having like tears in their eyes crying. I was actually got to spend some time with the UFC fighter. Name is Alberto Montes. He's from Venezuela. Just actually won Dana White's Contender Series last year, so he's about to have his debut in the UFC. But like one thing that he told me, he's 31 right now. Like he hasn't seen his mom since he was like 22 years old. So he left Caracas, literally 22, with like, I mean, he has like 1% chance, obviously, to make it in the UFC and in the US. And he basically promised his mom, like, Mom, I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna get you out of here. Literally moves to South Florida. I mean, he makes it. And so when I talked to him, and it's like the first time, maybe in a decade, that he has like this small glimmer of hope that he could maybe see his mom again. You know, we'll see if it gets to that moment. There's still so much uncertainty in Venezuela right now. Yes. Delcy Rodriguez, who was the VP under Maduro, is now the president with Cabello. So there's still, the regime is still there. So one thing that he even mentioned to me was his parents still can't celebrate. They can't be out on the streets. They're monitoring all their text messages so they could be basically thrown in jail at any time. He says his mom was like, kind of like super critical of the Maduro regime. So she was kind of targeted. So a lot of people, I think, like for me, man, it's important to tell that story because like those Latino stories don't normally get broadcasted on TV. And what you will get is the white liberal who was like super upset with a Starbucks coffee in their hand that like Maduro got kidnapped and that's illegal. And like at the end of the day, you could feel, you know, we could have their different opinions, but you always want to get like just the raw story from like actual Venezuelans on the ground. So I thought Alberto's story was like just super powerful. And the interesting thing is we interviewed a bunch of Cubans.
Don't talk over the mic if you don't mind. Just like keep it in front of you. But you're good. Keep going.
And I interviewed a bunch of Cubans, and like Cubans also are like identify with the Venezuelan struggle. So for a long time, I think for Cubans now also feel like they have a little bit of hope of something happening over there. So just interesting kind of time and kind of talking to the people in South Florida.
Yeah, I don't. One thing I don't want to get lost in this that I feel like after I had in Daniel DiMartino, literally like the night of, like the invasion happened in the morning. We recorded the night of, put out the podcast on Monday, which I really appreciate Daniel doing that. You know, there were people immediately forming sides on this thing, and I think some people misunderstood like how I want to look at this, which is there's two completely separate issues before you even quote unquote pick a side, which I don't even think you should do yet, but that's another point. It's like there's Venezuela and then there's the US's involvement. In Venezuela, to me, no disrespect, there's no like pro-Maduro argument that is sound. Okay, the guy's a scumbag. He's a dictator. He's a communist. They've lived under that regime for 25 years when you go back to Chavez. Right. And like, I am very happy for the opportunity that the Venezuelan people may now have from this. We got to see how it plays out. But like, if you ask me just like without any details on how it would happen, like, hey, on Friday, Maduro's going to be there. On Saturday, it's not. Is this good or bad? I'd be like, yeah, it's good. Like, gives the people a shot to reopen their economy. The issue is, the argument here instead is, should America get involved in regime change of a foreign country, even if we know the leadership is evil, versus letting the people slowly rise up is difficult. That's very difficult to do. I don't want to make that sound easy, but letting the people slowly rise up and do it themselves, which they had not been able to do yet. You know, so to me, I don't know what your thoughts are here, but like, I'm not going to have an opinion on whether or not we should have done this in all likelihood for a very long time, because I got to see all the third and fourth order effects play out.
We also don't know if Delcy Rodriguez is going to be worse than rules with an iron fist. I don't know this for sure, but it does seem like Delcy Rodriguez was working with the United States CIA and ousting Maduro, because CIA was on the ground in Venezuela as of April and then infiltrated the inner circle. And for Delcy, it did seem like she knew about the operation. Obviously, on camera, she's going to play very tough to her Venezuelan supporters and say Maduro's the only president. He was kidnapped. We demand his return. But Delcy Rodriguez has been gunning to be the president of Venezuela for years. I mean, she's very savvy. She's a lawyer. She works the system very well with her brother, Jorge Rodriguez. So she might actually be a more savvy Maduro. What's interesting is like today on True Social, Trump put out a thing like, hey, I just had a great call with Delcy. Everything's going to go great. We're going to work great on investment. So it looks like she's not going anywhere. And then the funny little angle to this, then you have Maria Machado, who was gunning for that position, but because she took the Nobel Peace Prize and didn't like not accept it and give it to Trump is like being super petty and which is not giving her any time of the day. I know she's going to go up to Washington. I don't know what she thinks she's going to accomplish with Trump, but it doesn't seem at this moment, man, that Delcy Rodriguez is going anywhere. I'm with you where let's wait another year how this plays out. Anytime we kind of have these moments, if you kind of just look at the news history of it, it's always super popular when a president does this. It's like a little rally around the flag, but then in 6 months, it could be a lot worse. You know, like Libya was popular when we overthrew a lot of these countries. That's right. Right. So let's wait for the full story. But I just kind of wanted to get a pulse on how Americans were feeling. I think like one of the kind of best parts of this story was that what really kind of put the nail on the head or nail in the coffin for Maduro was that he just kept dancing and trolling Trump, and that just irked Trump and Marco Rubio, and they're like, all right, we're coming out. He kept doing the whole no war, no peace, like the Maduro. He's
doing the John Lennon stuff.
Yeah, oh my God. So.
Imagine all the people.
Puppets in there right there. Yep.
Yeah, so we got, this is from Donald Trump today. This morning, I had a very good call with the interim president of Venezuela, Delcy Rodriguez. We are making tremendous progress as we help Venezuela stabilize and recover. Many topics were discussed, including oil, minerals, trade, and of course, national security. This partnership between the United States of America and Venezuela will be a spectacular one for all. Venezuela will soon be great and prosperous again, perhaps more so than ever before.
Now, to me, Julian, that True Social post sounds like Delcy Rodriguez cooperated with the CIA. And is willing to work with the United States. She probably knows her own circle is probably already infiltrated by the CIA, and she's gonna play ball as long as she could be president.
That's what I was gonna ask you. You said that you had heard they.
No, it's confirmed. CIA hit the ground in Venezuela in April. And
all right, my only question to that would be: they weren't there a long time before.
No, yeah. Come on.
Yeah. Who hit the ground? Like the fucking.
Now the only reason we know because of April is because the CIA like leaked it to the media. That's real believable. When I was with NewsNation, I started to I was covering the military buildup, so kind of like the whole Amarada that's set up in the Caribbean, and I kept kind of reporting like. That Maduro, with this military buildup, he should be finding like an out. He should have been like, with China or Russia, he should have reached some type of agreement. I mean, I don't know how it looks like, where he could have found some type of exile or asylum in either Russia or China. Yeah. As soon as he saw that military buildup, he should already knew his days were numbered. I was speaking with some folks in DC like before the new year. We thought like in the first 6 months Maduro was going to be ousted. I didn't think like in literally like the first week of January. But once he saw that military buildup, it's like, what do you think Trump was gonna? You think Trump was all those boats were just gonna sail away? All those Marines were gonna go away? I mean, Pete Hegseth was flying to Puerto Rico, speaking to Marines. They were posting on social media. It wasn't a secret. And Hegseth was telling the Marines, "This is real world. This is not a training."
Okay, we need to talk about the gas station and head shop mushroom gummies that definitely aren't mushrooms. We've all seen this weird trend happening now where gas stations and smoke shops are selling these so-called mushroom gummies, amanita gummies, psychedelic gummies, all kinds of labels. But independent testing keeps finding that many of them aren't mushrooms at all. Some of them contain synthetic tryptamines, and others contain benzodiazepines, all sold under the guise of a natural mushroom product. It's honestly dangerous and extremely common across the United States right now. But what if I told you that there is a legal and safe psychoactive mushroom gummy that you can buy and have shipped to your doorstep? Well, let me tell you about my friends at Amintara. They're the real deal. The largest Amanita muscaria supplier in the US, totally transparent, totally natural, and deeply committed to the tradition behind this mushroom. I like that I can just take one of their capsules and get a nice little feeling and not be too cooked and go about my day. That's what I've done in the past. Other people, if you want to turn up your actual dosage as well and get a bigger feeling, you can do that too. Amanitas gummies and capsules use real, properly processed Amanita muscaria. No synthetics, no mastery chemicals, no surprises. They've helped over 45,000 customers connect with this ancient mushroom again, and they would love to help you connect with it as well. So go to www.amantara.com/go/Julian. That link is in my description below, and use code JD22 for 22% off your first order. Once again, use that link in my description below and use code JD22 for 22% off your first order with Amantara.
And so, I mean, Maduro had like a warning, and he should have been out of there. But
yeah, I had the great political philosopher Kurt Metzger in here back in October, and he was like, "Oh yeah, we're going to war with Venezuela." And look, like he was 100% right. But to your point, they were making the fucking armaments known for a while. And my issue that I don't like, that is annoying to me, is how they went out of their way for months and months and months to market it as a drug thing. I know Venezuela is moving drugs. Like some bad forces there were moving drugs. I know some of those drugs are ending up in America. Compared to Mexico, we're talking about 3 baggies and a fucking 8-ball.
Right.
All right. They're sitting on the biggest oil reserves in the history of the world. Just, you know, and that's one thing I'll say about Trump since the actual invasion. He was like, you know, they got a lot of oil. Like at least he's being honest after the fact. I will give him that. But you know, that whole like, oh, look, we blew up another Venezuelan drug boat. Yeah, what about the fucking 75 drug boats that just landed in San Diego from Tijuana? Like, are we blowing them up too? Aren't they a terrorist organization?
They kind of also fabricate. I know, Joey, we could pull it up. They fabricated the whole Cartel de los Soles. Like the DOJ has basically like, oh yeah, that wasn't really like a cartel. It was more of a about the culture of the government. So Cartel de los Soles was completely made up. And I remember when I started,
Can you explain that to people who aren't familiar?
Yeah. So about a year ago, the Trump administration. This is all, just so folks know, this is really the Marco Rubio playbook. I mean, obviously Trump's the president, he's the face, but Marco Rubio can't convince Trump to invade Venezuela just to invade and get oil. So Marco has to basically convince Trump to hit Venezuela from another way. And the way they could do that is the drugs and Maduro's trafficking narco-terrorists and all that. I'm not saying Maduro, he probably knew some shady things were going on, but he's not the head of this Cartel de los Soles, and he's like an El Chapo character. But what they kind of did is they kind of made up Cartel de los Soles, so it sounds sexy. And then the other kind of key is then by declaring Cartel de los Soles a foreign terrorist organization. So by doing that, when I'm speaking with DC insiders, it gives Trump the ability to now bypass Congress and then just attack them, bro, like the same way if they were targeting Al-Qaeda. The same way that you look at like Saddam Hussein is basically where Maduro is at. So they fabricated that, declared a foreign terrorist organization so then they could start doing the bombing and then they could start putting the pieces to essentially capture Maduro. They put a $50 million bounty on his head, hoping that like someone in his inner circle would probably start to reveal his whereabouts, which the CIA probably already started to crack. And all of a sudden, bro, now that he's getting charged, it's literally like completely made up. Like, and the DOJ is telling you that.
Can you actually? So Deef just pulled something up, and I'll read this. But Deef also, this was quiet. I was texting our mutual friend Brian Enton about this because he was at the courthouse covering Maduro's hearings. The DOJ very quietly removed the cartel organization part of the indictment. And I forget, maybe we can find the language, Deef, but it basically said like, oh yeah, he was just around some stuff. Yeah. Like legally it makes no sense. It's like a jury's going to be like, so you don't have evidence.
See there?
Trump's DOJ quietly changes crucial detail and charges against Maduro. Let's go down here. All right, the New York Times reported Monday that the failing New York Times reported Monday that the new indictment of Maduro and others on charges related to drug trafficking omitted a crucial element of original charges. The criminal organization that Maduro supposedly ran, Cartel de los Soles, the original indictment filed against Maduro in March 2020 in the Southern District of New York, described the Cartel de los Soles as drug trafficking organization comprised of high-ranking officials that operated between 1999 and 2020. This was, by the way, they did this like 2 weeks into COVID.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Very interesting. But under the leadership of Maduro, Moros, and others, the Cartel de los Soles sought not only to enrich its members and enhance their power, but also to flood the United States with cocaine, the indictment said. And a lot of clubs in New York thank them for that, apparently. But apparently, Cartel de los Soles isn't a real organization at all. It's a slang term invented by the Venezuelan media to describe corruption, according to the Times. The supposed cartel's inclusion in the original indictment would be as if someone tried Trump for leading Trump World as a criminal organization. So the new indictment, this is what I want to get to, because this is beyond like whatever the New York Times is trying to take away from it. The original indictment mentions the cartel 32 times, while the new one only mentions it twice, this time describing Cartel de los Soles as a patronage system run by those at the top. The new indictment adds to the original by including additional charges of narco-terrorism, conspiracy to import cocaine, and gun charges, as well as charges against Maduro's wife for allegedly accepting bribes to broker trafficking meetings. There was a tweet. I hope someone in the comments maybe can find it and link it. It's because you can't search for it, Deef, because it was a screenshot, so I can't give you something to search. But it actually had the language from the indictment where it then showed what the new language is, and it's gibberish.
It describes like a culture of the government. But
yeah.
That right there, ladies and gentlemen, is the 101 Marco Rubio playbook executed perfectly. Marco Rubio right now they have now their eyes on Nicaragua and Cuba. Mexico is on the list. I don't know if we can find the report today, Joey, but I know that it said it was reported today. U.S. is pressuring Mexico to allow special commander CIA operations in Mexico. U.S. started flying CIA drones as of last year.
As of last year.
As of last year. I mean, we know in the public because that's what they're leaking. But in my kind of prediction, we'll see U.S. troops on the ground in the end of this year in Mexico in some type of capacity. It might not look G.I. Joe and they're flying down kind of what we saw in Maduro. It might look a little bit different because I think the Sinaloa cartel and Cartel Jalisco, I think they pose a lot different challenges for the United States government. So could it look like drone bombings? Could it, I could see a situation where like they bomb Sinaloa, a couple of these cartel spots. Trump goes on TV and says, don't worry about it no more. But I think Sheinbaum right now is getting put in a real bad corner because the thing is, you're not just dealing with Trump. You're dealing with, I want people to really know is Marco Rubio, no matter what you think of him as a statesman, is a genius. He right now, he got negotiations with Israel, Ukraine, Russia. He just ran a successful Venezuela operation. He's got Cuba on his radar. Nicaragua's next. They're pressuring Sheinbaum. Like, Marco Rubio is flooding the zone and gunning. And if I'm Marco Rubio personally, I go up to JD Vance. I have a meeting with JD because JD's running in 2020 no matter what. TPUSA is already back in JD Vance. We know that. That's not nothing new.
That don't mean much.
But if I'm Marco Rubio personally, I go up to JD, go say, hey JD, great VP. But I just ran a successful Venezuela operation. I'm the man, basically, in the White House. I'm Trump's basically number 2. I'm Secretary of State. I'm closing the real major deals. If I go to JD and go, in 2028, I'm going to run for president and you be my VP. Now, if you don't want to be my VP and you're going to run, then I'm running against you. And we're going to have a MAGA civil war then. But I'm not going to be your number 2. If I'm Marco Rubio, I'm not waiting. Also, Republicans are tanking right now with the Hispanic vote. Maybe with Marco Rubio on the ticket, you could say it. But if I'm Marco, I'm telling JD, I'm running, dude. And then if you want to go up against me, let's have at it. But that's what I think Marco Rubio is really gunning. I think people normally just see the news and they just see Trump. They don't know that Rubio is the mastermind on these foreign policies.
He's definitely been a mastermind behind the scenes on what they're doing. And like I said, you have to look at things objectively. We're gonna see what the 3rd and 4th and 10th and fucking 40th and 100th order effects are here and how this plays out to make a judgment on it. The earliest part on the scorecard, if you want to call it the opening drive with a touchdown, is a perfect drive. They executed a mission where none of their guys were killed. They did not kill any civilians on the ground. I saw some of the images of what they did. I'll show you that afterwards. And it's extremely well done. They got their man. They got out. But there's a lot of time before that cycle. And there are a lot of things that could happen. And maybe, world peace occurs, regimes naturally fall, hopefully, with no fucking U.S. involvement and shit like that, where the people get to make their own decisions on things. And, you kind of see the May flowers after the April showers that we've been living through or something like that. That is a possibility. there's another possibility that this is just a first quarter shot in the pan, and Appalachian State's making a little run at Ohio State, and suddenly they're on upset alert, and then bang, Ohio State just drops fucking 6 touchdowns on them, and the game's over by the end of the second quarter. That could happen here. It's possible. So I got to see it play out. But you like when you're talking about, you mentioned in there that they got their eyes on Cuba. We know that, we've heard that, but I want to talk about that. But before we do, you also said like Nicaragua. What's the thought process there? So
they've always had Nicaragua in their eyesight. Nicaragua's right now with the Ortega regime. It's as communist really as you get. If you're a reporter in Nicaragua, like if you basically can't even report anything critical, they just kind of throw you in jail. They throw in, any political prisoners. I think right now they banned the Bible from entering Nicaragua, which, they're a Catholic country. I'm Salvadorian. They're like our neighbors. And we're, Salvador is like a completely different country compared to Nicaragua.
Yeah, we'll talk about
that. But Nicaragua also is going to be crucial for the United States, obviously because how close they are, but because Nicaragua's relationship with Russia and China. One big thing with the U.S. is when it comes to dealing with these foreign countries is they want these countries, when it comes to deals, is to recognize Taiwan as a country. It plays a big role in their fight against China. And when you have these Central American countries that don't, even though El Salvador is an ally of the United States, El Salvador does not recognize Taiwan as a country. They align with China. Nicaragua aligns with China and Russia. So Marco Rubio has always had this fixation on Nicaragua and throwing out that communist government. Obviously, they want to put in a president with American interests to make it easier for them to either trade or block off Russia or China. Then Marco Rubio has been, for decades, you could find quotes on him, just obsessed with Cuba. He's Cuban. He's from South Florida, and just overthrowing the government there. I just don't know how it looks like. I think right now, from reading this report, it does seem like the priority is going to be, I think, Mexico. They're going to just corner Sheinbaum and just flood the zone on her. And I think like whether she allows it or not, CIA was already flying drones, but we're going to see some type of, U.S. presence. They already ran that covert mission when they captured El Mayo. United States, that to me is still one of the most fascinating stories that Mexico had no idea.
What do you think happened there?
I think once again it's CIA was involved. CIA went in there, maybe made some deals with the inner workings of Sheinbaum's administration, and was like, look, you guys look other way. We're gonna come in smooth, and
Here's the thing I cannot get out of my head whenever we talk about the cartels as a terrorist organization and the United States government potentially attacking them and who would be involved in that. And it's not the fact that Mexico is a trading partner and our neighbors and a large GDP country. That's not what I can't get out of my head. What I can't get out of my head is the fact that the letters C, I, and A always come up in some sort of effort to combat the narco-terrorism that's going on, as they've labeled it and everything. I would agree with them. I think that is exactly what it is. When in fact, I know the CIA has used the cartels as a vessel to operate their missions around the world. Now, let me be clear how I say this. I know that because I've had a guy sitting right there who did it for them professionally, complete non-official cover, named Matthew Hedger from episode 275 and 290. But it's not like... I'll give the CIA this. It's not like they sit there and go, we love the cartels. We love every single thing they do. That's not what they're saying. But they're making this very, very morally treacherous trade-off. And they made it decades ago where they basically said, okay, this exists. It's this other country has a big problem. Yes, it's starting to drag over to ours, but they have a lot of connections around the world. So if we got people in there undercover to just help them operate, because it's already going to happen anyway, when they go to make these trips around the world with these other connections, we can get intel on them and use them that way. And that's how they use them. So when I have Matthew Hedger here, I think we recorded on March 6, 2025. I'm recording with Ed Calderon March 13th, 2025, a week later. And Ed, he doesn't know Matt was there. Ed brings up, he's like, are we going to talk about the CIA flipping top 10 banks in the U.S. and top 10 bankers at those banks to launder money for the cartels? And I'm like... holding the goosebumps. I'm like, Ed, it's funny you say that. I had the guy sitting there last week who not only did that, but told the story on that same microphone. And Ed was unfazed because this is how we know the business is. So when I see the CIA getting involved, putting their man on the ground in April or whatever, and suddenly, boom, Venezuela's gone and taken care of, allegedly, in 8 months, whatever it is, And then I'm like, but Mexico's been the problem for fucking decades with their cartels, and we've been there, but we're not doing anything. What really is the game here?
That's perfect, bro. Yeah. And the thing is, we only know what's funny about these reports, Julian, it's like this is the CIA leaking to the New York Times. So it's like, why do they want Mexico and these world leaders to know? I mean, that, it's a whole nother game is being played, but it does seem Mexico's next on that radar. We'll see what happens with Venezuelans and TPS if like Trump is going to deport them to a Delcy Rodriguez regime that probably looks at a lot of these Venezuelans that fled the United States as now enemies of the state. They could be imprisoned. There's just going to be so much elements kind of play, and who knows, maybe this came right now to take the headlines off other stories for the Trump administration. One of the key details that I thought was super interesting was that this operation was supposed to happen on Christmas Day, Christmas night.
They had the Somali documentary to put out the next day. They couldn't do it then.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, we had to wait for that.
We had to make sure all the fraud was covered.
All the fraud was covered.
Then the Epstein files. What was that?
Oh, how many people were arrested on the Somali fraud? We'll wait on those arrests. But I guess so it was supposed to happen Christmas night. They did airstrikes on Nigeria that pushed it back. So now you got the Nigeria angle too of like Christians being persecuted. I think that's total BS.
Really?
Oh, not saying they're not.
Talk to me about it. I don't know a ton about it.
So right now there's like terror groups in Nigeria that are persecuting Christians. To the level that we know, I don't think any American really knows. I think if any American journal try to tell you it is happening or it's not, I don't think they know. And they're full of maybe like the truth's in the middle, bro. Like maybe it's happening, but maybe not genocide. We don't really know. But
it's just half a genocide.
But it's I mean, this is happening all over. I mean, Christians are being persecuted in Gaza, but we didn't care about the Gaza angle, right? But all of a sudden in Nigeria, there's maybe things at play here. Oil. Now the administration wants to bomb Nigeria, which I think is interesting that did happen. I went to go cover as a reporter and to make context. Now I'm independent. I went to TPUSA AmFest. What I found interesting there was that one of the speakers happened to be Nicki Minaj, who is Nigerian, who was like, if you go on Nicki Minaj's Twitter, and I don't know if we could do it right now and just type in Nigeria, she has so many tweets of like Christians being persecuted, yada, yada. Her husband is like, I think about to get some charges, so Nicki Minaj's husband might need a pardon. And then all of a sudden, all of a sudden, Erica Kirk invites Nicki Minaj on the stage at TPUSA to speak about this, to basically get the young Gen Z conservatives on board with regime change in Nigeria, if that's what the Trump administration wants to do. There's just a lot of weird little, connections. So here it is. Look at this, Julian. Nicki Minaj. Yep, I'm 100% agree with Max. But she's clearly being read. She knows she's playing the game too.
Okay. Nicki Minaj. This is from Max Blumenthal. Took some shots from Daniel DiMartino when he was in here. I need to see those two in the studio. I'm staying out of it. Nicki Minaj, who was obviously recruited by rich Trump cronies, pushes interventionist propaganda as U.S. military surveillance flights begin over Nigeria. It seems clear Trump Inc. is stirring the phony narrative to get at Nigeria's vast oil reserve.
Now,
how much oil does Nigeria?
God damn, we're gonna do So let me tell you this, Joe. Do you think Nicki's being invited because she's a great role model for conservative women and conservative values, and that she believes the same thing Kirk, or she's being now used by higher powers on the right for regime change in Nigeria? So I think your audience
you
is
could
smart,
take some notes from, you take some notes from that physique. I am saying, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not for nothing.
Not for nothing.
It's not for nothing. But yeah,
So-
I want to know, Deef, can we pull up her husband?
Yeah.
This is interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know this
Yeah.
one.
Oh, dude.
Yeah,
You learn something new every day.
Yeah, he's not looking good.
yeah. So if your wife or husband is in trouble, folks, get close to the Trump admin, get that pardon, and you're good to go,
That's
baby.
right. Get on the Erica Kirk grief tour. All right,
That's
so
this guy.
The latest updates, we're just getting canceled today. It's okay. The latest,
I think we're gonna
I've noticed everything we're talking about, we've pissed off everyone, and we're about a half hour in. There's no one we haven't pissed off yet. I love podcasts like this. I'm sorry, Deef, can I read the headline? Yeah. Sorry, I cut myself off. The latest updates in the SA case against Nicki Minaj's husband. Okay, so you can go down right there. Perfect. Kenneth Perry, the disgraced husband of rap star Nicki Minaj, remains on supervised probation for failing to register as an S offender in California. Additionally, Petty is embroiled in an ongoing civil lawsuit from a woman who he allegedly essayed in 1994 when they were both 16. Minaj was at one point also named in the lawsuit over claims of harassment, intimidation, and emotional distress stemming from online harassment from fans and allegedly pursuing the defendant to drop the case. Minaj was voluntarily removed from the lawsuit by the defendant in 2022. Wow.
So what part of what you just read, what represents conservative TPSA values in that?
Nothing.
And that's
Deep's like, wow. Yeah.
well, technically everything. So
Hey guys, real quick, if you haven't already hit that subscribe button, please subscribe. Thank you.
So there you go, Julian. So and that's Nigeria. I mean, obviously that's easy. That's an easy one for us to forget because it's not Cuba, Nicaragua, obviously Mexico, our neighbors. That's in the news every day. But don't forget about Nigeria too, folks. Like they might have a role in the regime change there too.
My guy Ali Tabrizi, you ever hear of him? He did the documentary Seaspiracy on Netflix. Do you remember that?
I gotta watch it. No, it sounds super. Yeah,
that was back in 2019, I want to say. So amazing documentary that went through just, I mean, stuff that I knew nothing about as far as like some horrible things that are happening within like the seafood industry and fishing and stuff around the world. Amazing stuff. But Ali lives out in Australia and we've been working endlessly to try to get him here. But he and I struggle so much because he's in the worst possible time zone of Australia. So the only times I can call him are like right after the gym in the morning or like late at night. And I never remember in the morning. And then at night, it's like when I'm falling asleep, I'm like, fuck. But we'll make it happen. I'm curious to talk to him though, because he has been covering the Christian genocide in Nigeria for a long time. I mean, we're talking the last like 3 years trying to get attention to some of this. Does that mean he's right about everything? I don't know. I mean, your guess is as good as mine. But I get tight whenever you start seeing sudden American bombings in a lot of countries around the world. I ain't even gonna slightly defend like the Hillary Clintons and George Bushes of the world, but like you would see bombs drop always in places with Al-Qaeda. Right now in Nigeria, to be fair, it's like Al-Shabaab and these terrorist groups that are tied to ISIS that they're doing it, but like you don't have that in Venezuela. I don't think you have that much in Nicaragua if we start to see that. So what I'm saying is when I start seeing this like everywhere and then we're just casually throwing around the term regime change, it's like if it were as simple as no one knew who did the regime change and you have objectively bad guy and you can get him out, by all means, go ahead. But people will know like, oh, the U.S. did that. And then how can that be used for propaganda down the line when some things don't go right?
Oh my God, dude. It's on the point. And then, I mean, we haven't even got to Iran yet, and
we'll get there. We'll get there.
But no, I think you hit the nail head. Look, and for your friend, I'm not saying that Christians are being persecuted in Nigeria. It's always interesting that the United States all of a sudden cares about Nigeria when we literally were bombing Christians in Gaza nonstop. And then if you said that you cared about those kids, they called you a Hamas sympathizer on Fox News.
It's insane.
It's crazy. So. Just, watch a lot of things at play. And I think I spoke to you off cam, Julian, even before the Trump 2.0, Bannon was already kind of making the rounds on media and said, hey, when this administration comes in, they are going to flood the zone. We're going to hit you with executive orders left and right. We're just going to hit them everywhere where we're going to have the mainstream media scrambling and they can't stay on one story because we're just hitting them. So we got Iran, Nigeria, all many things at play. We got the Taiwan and the chips and China and the Red Sea. And now we got Mexico and Operation Shine Bomb. So they're flooding the zone and you're seeing it, bro. The mainstream media scrambling. And then it doesn't help when we kind of got, look, for those who don't know, I covered all of those 2020 riots, civil unrest. I was there in every city.
Yeah, we did. So you and I did episode 229 back in August 2024, where you told that whole story and everything. And that episode kind of went crazy with a lot of clips and stuff. But if people want to hear all the context there was like an hour where we went through that.
Of that. And in a way, man, we're seeing kind of the same, like I said, they're flooding the zone on all the geopolitical stuff. But then they're also flooding the zone inside the U.S. And then it doesn't help when you have this kind of the ICE shooting in Minneapolis. It's kind of brewing that 2020 feeling again, where that public angst and that tension is rising. And I just for me covering the news and being on the ground, it just feels like, man, we're almost, at least domestically, we're one event away from that big civil unrest and those clashes. And all of a sudden, all the news, bro. You turn on the news if you're just an American normie, you just turn on the news, you're just getting Minneapolis headlines. You forget Mexico, you forget Venezuela, Nigeria. So this flood the zone, it's not just from a geopolitical, it's happening domestically as well.
You said Steve Bannon said that?
Yeah, so Steve Bannon was making the media rounds. And for folks who don't know, obviously Steve Bannon, former White House advisor and everything, but Steve Bannon is a genius politically. He basically in 2016, for folks who don't know, he wrote Trump's playbook. He is the MAGA author. He actually had a meeting with Trump and said, we're making a massive mistake. He says, we're making the issue of like China number one. He's like, no. Let's start off on immigration. And then we work everything way down. So that's why Trump went build the wall super hard in 2016.
He is one of the smart, regardless of what you think about him. And I do not have a good opinion. He is one of the smartest political operatives in history. And Joe, white boy's got some motion too. Right? Can we pull up that pic? Because it's funny, he's the guy saying flood the zone so that the media can't focus on one story. This is Joe has this actually framed in his apartment in Brooklyn, just because it's such a don't give it away. It's such a great picture. The vibes are immaculate. Look at that. Oh my God. Look at that. And Steve Bannon was fired by Trump about a day before that picture was taken. He looks so happy. So Jorge, this is people don't even know this because it
totally forgot about
it. It went right under the radar. I'll never forget the day Steve Bannon was fired from Trump 1 from 45. So he was the White House advisor, and he was fired on a Friday, I want to say, in August 2017. So he'd been on the job for like 8 months. It is the same energy right there. Deep's pulling up a comparative picture. But I lived in North Jersey, and so Trump in the summers on the weekends goes to his place in Bedminster with the golf course. So he would fly into Morristown Airport. So I'm coming back from an appointment, and the roads are empty because it's like maybe 2:00 in the afternoon, and all the fucking cop cars are lined up. I'm like, God damn it, he's landing here. So they shut off, like, whenever the president goes to fly into one of these, like, smaller airports, they shut off, like, the 4 miles around it. You got to, like, go around. So I'm like, fuck. And wow, he's flying up here the day Bannon got fired. While Trump was flying up to Morristown Airport, Bannon got in his car and drove to New York City and spent the weekend at Jeffrey Epstein's place and interviewed him on camera for 18 hours. And Epstein verified this and everything. Bannon later teased a documentary back in maybe late 2021.
I knew about the interview, but I didn't know it was 18. Yeah.
Where he showed one clip of it, which is like a comical clip, where he's like pressing Epstein, and he's like, you've been accused of doing some horrible things to women and whatever, like, how do you respond? He goes, I actually believe the future's about women. I'm a Time's Up guy. And it like, you can't even believe this is real. And he's like, we're going to make a doc. I know. Like we're going to make a documentary on this. And then they never put out the documentary because Steve Bannon goes way back with Mr. Epstein. That's a fun rabbit hole to go down to if people want to do that. There's a guy named Henry Abbott from actually True Hoop of all places who did an amazing like 18-chapter report on this like 5 or 6 years ago. And there's a chapter called Steve Bannon about Epstein. And it's like, what the fuck?
Okay, I didn't know they went way back.
They buddy, bro. So like, it's funny that they're flooding the zone with some of this stuff now.
Okay. Now we're making the okay. I know.
By the way, Jorge, you'll appreciate this. You're in the news cycle. What's the worst time of the news cycle of the week?
I mean, the government usually tries to drop you, bro, on a Friday or a Sunday night.
So Friday night into Saturday morning. That's the time. So let's review a couple things here. Jeffrey Epstein found dead in his jail cell on an early Saturday morning in August, the vacation month, the deadest news month of the year. Ghislaine Maxwell found guilty on Wednesday, December 29th, 2 days before New Year's, the dead week after Christmas. Fucking January 3rd is Monday. It's dead by then. On Saturday morning of President's Day weekend in America, Jean-Luc Brunel, Epstein's European trafficker, found dead in his jail cell on a 3-day weekend in America. Story's dead by Tuesday. When Trump and Kash Patel had to come out this year and like admit that some of the things they said about Epstein was wrong, but there's still nothing to see here. Like that big thing that happened, I believe, Joe, it was like July 3rd, of July 4th week.
Cash, but so, yeah.
And that's a whole separate thing. One eye hunting, one eye fishing. The Epstein file release date that they kept pushing off, that Trump wouldn't sign, finally got released on Friday afternoon, and they were late to release it. Remember, like Massey all day was like, where is it? They released it that night on December 19th, right before Christmas week, a week before the Somali documentary goes to fucking Mars, 2 weeks before we invade Venezuela. Gone. That is not a coincidence.
It's totally out of the news cycle now. Totally. Here, really quick, Joe. Just Google Epstein. What's like our last article? Amazing, bro. That's right in the middle of the night, and the story's already dead, and they probably are also planning an event nearby. So after that story, boom, we're just gonna kill it with something else.
Yeah, last
dead.
one is a week ago, 4 weeks ago.
Epstein.
Dead. Biggest trafficker in fucking known trafficker in human history.
How many Somalis got arrested after that, doc? Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. But because by the way, two things.
Friday too,
That was a Friday, but like that's the other thing. Nick put it out, I believe, on the 26th. Nick Shirley, which is like not a great day to put out content.
No,
it became the most viewed documentary of all time because it got retweeted by everyone. And by the way, two things are true at the same time. Nick definitely seems to have uncovered something there, and he doesn't control like who takes actions with it afterwards. Obviously, like he is a conservative guy. He's an investigator on that side. Like Nick is not a pure journalist because he does have a point of view. So like he's excited about some of the people who are retweeting this, and he's young and he found a good story. So that's not in his control, but like not natural for that to be getting fucking 150 million views in a week. And it's I gotta say, very well done documentary. I would say he had 90 to 95% of the stuff fairly buttoned up. Like in an on the ground capture it documentary, that's hard to do. So kudos to him. But I'm just saying, like it was used out of his control to also wash this shit away. Because by the way, there were a bunch of pictures of like, and to be clear, I actually didn't think this was bad, but people could paint it as bad. There were a bunch of pictures of Elon with a bunch of other scientists at a dinner with John Brockman, and I always forget the name of that fucking science club, back in 2011. The fact of the matter is Epstein funded this club. It's like every scientist in the world was in it, and he would go to some of the dinners. That doesn't mean anything happened. But like, people aren't, they're 0 or 100 about this. Like there's no middle ground, you know what I mean? So I understand, like, in that case, someone like Elon being like, God damn it. Like, do I really, I don't know this guy, but people will be like, but do you?
I know. And then, dude, everyone commented on it. Pam Bondi, come on. And then I think it was like a day or two ago, the White House puts out the statement saying, because of Shirley's reporting, we're going to like surge in Minnesota. I mean, no one's getting arrested for the fraud. They're just,
you don't think so?
But I mean, I haven't seen any arrests. We'll see. Will things have play out? But I also find it interesting, Joe, if we could pull it up, Joe Thompson, the lead prosecutor, who is a Trump appointee from Minnesota, resigned a couple of days ago with if we could pull this article up, Julian, and then 5 other prosecutors also resigned. He's a Trump appointee. This is a guy who like literally uncovered fraud like 2 years ago there it is. Joe Thompson. The administration is pushing Joe.
Oh, wait, but this is over the ICE shooting thing.
No, yeah, but the thing is, he is the guy who had literally went after the fraud in Minnesota.
Right.
He just closed like a $250 million fraud case. This guy's a big deal. He's good. Trump picked him. And then the administration started pressuring Thompson and the other prosecutors to find something on the widow of Renee Good. And then these guys just all resigned.
All right. So I have, like, admittedly, and Joe and I were talking about this yesterday, like, not looked at any of this ICE shooting stuff because I saw, like, immediately global freak out on Twitter, all the predictable names on either side giving completely opposite. I didn't watch the video. I was just like, I had too much going on last week. I'm like, I'm just going to let this play out. What happened here? Just give it to me as objectively as possible. What's going on? Obviously, everyone who's listening, who's normal, actually did watch this and has their own opinions. But I'm hearing it for the first time. What went on here? What's the story?
So obviously, we're seeing this huge surge of, federal immigration agents in Minneapolis, and obviously you have a city that's not used to seeing no really American cities used to seeing this amount of federal agents on the ground, masked up. So obviously this is drawing tensions and drawing crowds and confrontations. A lot of people that are making the mistake where like every federal agent, they're just saying it's ICE. The majority of agents you guys are seeing on the ground are Border Patrol. That's why they have that green uniform. And Border Patrol is the one who is doing the roving patrols, meaning like if there's a Somali looking person getting gas, they're rolling up. They're asking them, "Can I see your ID? Are you like they're the ones who are doing that." So in this Renee Nicole situation, according to the government, in that area they were doing what they call a targeted operation. Now, targeted usually means, from my reporting, is they have an individual who they are already going for. They already track their pattern of life. Normally, ICE is doing that, but this was a target operation by Border Patrol. So there was protesters there. Obviously, all these tensions. You have Renee Good, who I believe just dropped off her kid, ends up in this kind of situation where she's now surrounded by a few of these agents, kind of like a roadblock. And I mean, everything kind of happens really quick. There's that moment in that video where she kind of looks at the agent and says, "Hey, I'm not mad at you, dude." And then one other agent, I believe, is the one who's like, "Hey, get out the car." And then that's when everything kind of turns, because then she turns the car. You have the agent who's like in front of the car. He has, I don't know why, his cell phone out. And then boom, one shot through the windshield when the wheel started turning on the right, and then there was two more shots when he was on the side, and then like in one of the videos at the end he goes effing bitch, and then the car kind of, after Nicole's obviously deceased, the car keeps going and then it hits a pole, and that's kind of obviously, bro, that went mega viral and all that good stuff. But the thing is, this is my frustration, Julian, is like even before I watched that video, I already know what your opinion on the shooting is from if you're on Team Blue and Team Red. And I think this is where you and me 100% agree and are kind of sick with everything going on. So,
Deef, by the way, just Jorge, I want you to finish this point. Deef, can you pull up the video and not put it on the screen and not have audio, just so I see it with the context? Obviously, Jorge's seen all this, and then Jorge, please continue.
Yeah. So look, I'm not a law expert. I have no idea how this is gonna weigh out. But like, I think for me, the frustration was that like everyone just came out, dude, was like an automatic expert on the situation, and we'll see how this plays out with voters. But what I found super interesting, Julian, was like the next day, JD Vance does the this is better. I do an interview with I won't say his name, but I'm in Washington D.C. when the shooting happens.
Sorry to hear that.
And I meet with D.C. Guy who's in the administration connected to cracking on drugs. Like, I don't want to reveal too much. So we have a meeting. Meeting goes good. This guy was a former ICE guy, so in our meeting goes, "Hey Jorge, just gotta run out in a little bit. I gotta go on Fox. I gotta go. They're interviewing me as from the perspective of a former ICE agent in the shooting. But he's in the admin. So I say, okay, cool. He does the interview, and then he calls me. He goes, Jorge, I did the Fox interview, and the White House calls me directly and told me, get the F off TV. And I'm like, huh? He goes, that's never happened to me before, man. He's like, I don't want to get fired. I don't know if I pissed him off. He says, I went on Fox, and he's like, obviously, I play ball. I'm going to defend my guy. They're going to defend, no matter what, they're going to defend the shooter, because it's a DHS. This guy's in the admin, bro. The admin right now is doubling down on anything.
But you can say, I'll give Tom Homan a little credit on this. He said, I'm not going to comment on this because it's an ongoing investigation or something like that. Like, that's what you shouldn't just like automatically defend your guy, especially if you don't even know what happened.
So he says, hey man, did nothing wrong. Talk to him about my expertise, defend our guy, boom, boom, boom. He goes, I got a call from the White House to get the F off TV. And then what he doesn't know, he's not a reporter, so he doesn't know what the media works. And I go, hey man, it looks like the White House is panicking on this video, and they would need to get in front of the story, and you going on before Noam does. And then the funny thing is, like 2 hours later, Noam does her press conference, right? Does her press conference, all the greatest hits. The next day, what I found interesting, JD Vance is doing the press briefing, and JD Vance comes out and is doubling down aggressive, like off the cuff already, like Renee Good is a domestic terrorist, and was like, basically he doubled down and so much that like and this is what I was speaking to another reporter friend about. He's like, Jorge, with this big, beautiful bill, you got 10,000 agents coming in. This is the 10,000 agents that are coming in. These aren't guys that are like, hey, man, my whole life I just wanted to be a police officer, man, to serve the community, buddy. These guys are like rejects in other parts of society, criminal record. They're getting rushed through training.
Criminal records?
Some of these guys got criminal record, and they're getting, I don't know, Joe, really quick, if we could just put up like Slate journalist ICE. Just put that in, a Slate journalist just applied at ICE and got in quick. And she was like a super lib, hates Trump, uses drugs. And
You've heard about who ICE is recruiting. The truth is far worse. I'm the proof. What happens when you do minimal screening before hiring agents, arming them, and sending them into the streets? We're all finding out.
And really quick, Julian, before you read the rest, so people don't think, it's a lib article. DHS put out a statement combating this, and then it got community noted by X.
Oh my god! For a Slate art, that's hard to do.
So she got a real tentative offer. She's like, dude, I smoke weed. I'm the biggest lib. She's like, you could Google me. I talk shit about Trump all the time. They rushed her in. So what I was speaking to my reporter buddy, he's like, Jorge, we got the big beautiful bill. You got 10,000 of these agents that are being rushed in. Not only are they being rushed in, these are like the most MAGA of MAGA agents. Then you have the shooting of Renee Good. So if you're an agent applying, you're like, oh man, I'm kind of worried. Dude, the VP just came out and had your back. You got immunity, brother. You don't think these guys are gonna come in riled the F up? Can
I see the video, Joe, while we're talking about
Also, really quick, Julian, what I found interesting is, why does this video from the agent's cell phone, why does that get leaked to Alpha News? I mean, that's a whole other,
It was from the agents. So while I'm watching this, who was Renee Good? Like, what was the context of her even being there in the car at the time? Do we know that?
I guess she just heard about the protest and tried to like go down, and I'm hearing two stories. There's one that she dropped off her kid and then just kind of ran into the protest. One that like she just went to it and then to kind of panic and try to leave.
We got a few angles.
Yeah.
Let me first see the angle everyone's seen. Yes, I feel like
This is it.
right.
Yeah, this is
Okay, so she's being told to stop. She doesn't. And then does he shoot from the side? Is that it? Or the front. He pulled his gun, bang, bang.
and then bang bang on the side.
Okay. Now, Joe, you had another
Now,
perspective.
as you see there, Julian, you see when that guy goes up to obviously grab the door. So he right there is where kind of everything changes, right? Because he goes, get out, and she's in panic mode. I think, she's in panic mode.
Because I also, I think ICE also is so controversial right now, like as an organization, that a lot of people, there are a lot of citizens, I'm not saying whether this is right or wrong, I'm just saying this, like, who don't view them from a rights perspective, like when they're there as an actual police officer, which they are, but their reputation through some of the things we've seen over the past few months is not good, and they're also being decried by local politicians, maybe in some cases correctly. I don't know. I'm not trying to make a political statement here. I'm just trying to report what's going on, where, they're basically saying, like, get the fuck out of our city and stuff. So then the people are like, well, some people who are scared of this are like, well, my mayor's saying they should get the fuck out so they don't have jurisdiction. You know what I mean?
Right. And I was speaking to a DHS agent about this. The language is hurting these guys too. So like when they say like, these are Gestapo, these are Nazis. Like some of the language that some media uses is like when they arrest someone, they'll say this person was kidnapped or they were disappeared. So when the public hears that, obviously like what we're talking about, ICE is not good. Like at the end of the day, like
this video,
yeah, this is from Alpha News, and this is should be the cell phone of.
We're not showing this on camera because the video will get demonetized, but I just want to see it. So this was leaked, you said, Jorge?
Yeah, to Alpha News. This is from the agent's cell phone. Mm-hmm.
Right there. Okay.
And right here, she goes, I'm not mad at you guys. Yeah. Dude, I'm not mad at you.
I'm not mad at you. He's filming. He's going to get a license plate, so he has it.
And then his agent, bro.
And then someone's filming him.
That's her partner.
Oh, that's her partner.
Yeah. And that's when the other agent, bro, goes up and grabs a door handle, and that's when the situation just pops up.
Okay, so her partner's right there. And then now she's turning it. Boom. Now bang bang, she's shot. Okay, and we don't see the shots while we see her car spin out of control. Okay.
So I don't know how that video goes from the agent's cell phone to Alpha News. I don't know if
there's a now.
I don't know why they want to make that leak. I know that agent who also fired shots was previously dragged in a car in a previous operation, I believe like less than 6 months ago.
The guy who fired the...
Yeah. So from what I've heard, I spoke to a lawyer friend. This is from, I'm not an expert, but he says that might hurt the government's case because it's like you don't want a guy who's dealing with trauma and then panics. So, I don't know.
Then does the onus go on to the government for putting him still in the
I don't
field?
think anything's going to happen to this guy because Trump and Vance and Noam are very clear that they have your back no matter what. I really don't think anything's going to happen.
But we started this loop actually with the prosecutor stepping down because he happened to be a guy, Trump-appointed guy, is that right?
Yeah, so basically the administration is pressuring Thompson, saying, find something on the widow of Renee Good, and then right there, Joe Thompson, who's a Trump appointee. I mean, I can't emphasize this enough.
Who just happens to be a fraud expert prosecutor at this time, by the way. But he's stepping down over the ICE thing, not the fraud thing.
Over the ICE thing, yeah. So what does Joe think about? He probably thinks, hey, I have nothing on this lady, and this administration is going to make me
I'm just trying to because I just
I
saw
know,
that
there's
from
so
three
much
angles,
stuff. Yeah,
I'm trying to I've literally purposely scrolled past this over the past.
Which I'm
week,
glad you did,
people.
just so we could have this conversation now. And
Yeah.
it's raw. And Julian, I'm coming into the studio today. Last night there was another ICE involved shooting. It seems like
What happened?
Where if we could look at this up, Joey, I believe it was a Venezuelan individual. He struck one of the agents with a shovel. Agent fired back. So we had another shooting last night, and then. Oh my God. And then, so there were some more clashes with protesters. There was tear gas. Some of those agents, Julian, I don't know if we can find the video. They left their vehicles in the midst of it. So the protesters actually went into the vehicles, ransacked them. They stole a bunch of documents that of who ICE was targeting. So they have those documents in an FBI rifle. I believe Nick Sortor on X has a video of them pulling out. If we could get this right now, FBI rifle case out of a car.
That's kind of funny.
Yeah,
it's not, but it's a little bit funny.
If we could go on X Joy and put Nick Sortor
rifle.
Yeah, he has a video. It was all breaking last night. It was crazy.
You know the picture I have outside the studio, right there, of Bill the Butcher.
Yeah.
Are you aware what he says in that line in Gangs of New York when he's sitting there?
No.
He's looking at Leonardo DiCaprio just doing a monologue in the middle of the night, and Leo's waking up what the fuck is this guy doing? And he's like, civilization is crumbling. There's a reason I put that outside the studio.
Take a look at this right here, Julian.
Okay, so can we put this before we play it? Is this one that's going to get us in trouble?
No, I don't. No.
All right. And by the way, people, I'm sorry. I got to be so... Pause that real fast, Joe. Pause that real fast. Sorry. I'm sorry I got to be so careful with some of the stuff, but just so you understand, we have had demonetization wars with all of Jorge's content in the past. So I'm doing that very on purpose in this episode. I know that is an annoying part at home, and I apologize for that. I don't make the rules. Okay. Sorry, Jim. Okay, so they're hacking away. Can we make a full screen by the shot?
Yeah, you'll see them pull up. There it is, bro.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, he's got, wow. He looks like a real straight shooter. No pun intended.
Get some bullets.
Yeah.
Get some bullets.
Yeah, I mean,
This happened last night.
These aren't the people I want finding this stuff. I'll put it that way.
Even Joey, I don't know if we got the video. If we could look up Ford Fisher, because Ford Fisher has the video of the documents when they're ransacking the documents. So, as a reporter who's covered the 2020 riots, I'm looking at this, and it's almost like
you were in them. You were literally undercover in them.
Yeah, in them. I mean, there's no one has more experience than me, and I'm getting that feeling, man, where something Ford, like the car Ford, yeah. We're one moment away, man, from this thing spilling over. Because think about this, Julie. This is just, and I don't want to say this, but you're having these violent clashes. You're the other side now. All these protesters, they're urging their audiences, their followers, if you want to come to Minneapolis and protest, come armed.
Come on.
We are getting to that moment, and I don't want. I hate saying this, but this is just realistic because I covered the process and I've seen it. We're getting to that moment where an ICE agent officer could get shot and killed. I mean, where the public is reaching that. I mean, look at this. I mean, it's not calming down.
Jorge. Because I hate, and I take what you say very seriously because you've seen all this stuff on the ground and you go, and now we're really going to get you back going to where the stories are because you're doing shit yourself. So again, we will have Jorge's links down below to his his new YouTube channel that I know we'll talk about some of the content you're going to be doing there. I know it's going to be great. So people go follow Jorge. He's a great follow. But, I hear you talking about this civil unrest and what this all is. It is just scary to me, the pendulum shifts that we still not only still subject ourselves to in society, but we make worse than ever when all the answers are there in front of us to show us why that's a bad idea. So here, let me give some context there. It is an objective statement that the last administration, the Biden administration's policies on the border and immigration were horrible. There's actually really no one who did a better job of laying that out than you, because you covered, and I cite it all the time on this podcast, some serious human trafficking stories that were able to happen because of how loose the border was. So the same people who were like, well, we just have to have open borders and whatever because we have to let everyone in because that's what we do in America, when they were confronted with what that allowed very bad people to do on a massive scale with things like human trafficking, where people are dying, they're having their organs harvested, or they're being... Thank you guys for checking out this clip. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe and hit the like button on this video. It is a huge, huge help. And if you'd like to check out this clip's full podcast episode, that link is in the description below or right here. And finally, you can follow me on Instagram and X by using the links in my description below.